I was recently asked a question that I didn't really have the answer for. What are my top 10 games of all time for PlayStation 1? I could name 5 off the top of my head, but the other 5 were a little bit tricky because there's so many games I love for the system, and everyone knows my favorite game for the PlayStation 1, Legend of Droon, as you can see right here. I even have a custom stand that I have for this, and I own 3 copies of it. But trying to piece together my favorite games of all time on the PlayStation was very difficult, but I finally managed to compile a list of my favorite games across the board, and here they are! Silent Hill. I really struggled with this one because it was between this one and Parasite Eve. I love the Parasite Eve game, not the second one, that one's bullshit! If you know me, you know I hate the second one of that. But this one went out because I love the atmosphere, I love the story that Silent Hill immerses. Now, speaking of Silent Hill, I prefer Silent Hill 2 and 4 over the first entry, but as a series as a whole, I still appreciate the Silent Hill franchise, but I'm still a bigger Resident Evil fan. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It would not be a list without some kind of Castlevania game on it. This is my favorite in the entirety of the Castlevania franchise. Yes, I know I have the Greatest Hits edition, but I will eventually get the Black Label, and I will be keeping this one because this is my original copy. Spyro, You're the Dragon. And you thought this list was just going to be RPGs and survival horror, didn't you? Well, you were wrong! I do love platformers as well. That would probably be my 3rd favorite genre as far as games go. Now, why's Crash not on this list? Hey, I love the Crash series. Warped is my favorite, but I love Spyro more. And this is my favorite entry. Whenever I try to think of why I like this one more, I think it's because I like the worlds more, the visuals, and it's just an all-around better game than the other 2 in my opinion. And again, I know this is Greatest Hits, but I will eventually get the Black Label, but I'm keeping this one. I'm actually going to try to get all the variants as far as like Greatest Hits, Black Label, even the collector sets for some games, because this set, the trilogy, does have a collector's edition set, so I will be getting that eventually. Final Fantasy IX. But Final Fantasy IX is your favorite Final Fantasy game. Why is it so low? Well, there are better games on PlayStation 1 than Final Fantasy IX or the Final Fantasy games in general, but this is still my most cherished one. I love it. Now, I'm not going to be including Final Fantasy VI on this one because that's a port of the original, and I don't feel like it's fair to do that. Even though I love 6, it is not my favorite of all time. This one still sits at number 1, but 6 is still number 2, and I love Ultras. But I love someone even more. I like Vivi. Say hi, Vivi. Hello. Dino Crisis. You know me, I love survival horror, and this is my favorite of the entire franchise. I really wish Capcom would bring this back. Remake it, do something, Capcom! You left us with that fucking Dino Crisis 3 bullshit! And now Exo Primal. What the fuck is that? I won't get into it, I won't get into it, I won't get into it. I promised myself I wouldn't. But regardless, this is Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs, and I love it. Legend of Legaia. Now, I have played the second entry in this series to start off with on PS2, and I had never played the first one, and for so many years, I said the name wrong. I said The Legend of Legia, but it's Legaia. I finally figured out how to say the name of this damn series, but I adore this game. It made my top 20 games of all time, and now it's in the top 10 games of all time for PlayStation 1. Now, what made me love this game so much was the story, the graphics, the OST is amazing, the overworld layout, and of course, the hyper arts, the miracle arts. It has such a unique battle system that I had never seen before, and I made so many good friends playing this game, and it will forever be cherished to me. Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return. Why is this one on here and not the first Tomba? Well, I did own the first Tomba whenever I was younger, but this is the one game that I rented the most on PlayStation 1, and I like this one a lot better than the first one. I like the approach that they did from 2D to 3D, and I just like the story more, and I love the OST more, and the areas are a lot more fun than the first game, at least in my opinion. And of course, this is my favorite platformer on PlayStation 1 too. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Stars! I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil franchise, but number 3 is my favorite if you can't tell already. I played this one the most out of all the Resident Evil games, and of course I would love to own on every single system that came out for it. Dreamcast, GameCube, even all the variants. Now, speaking of variants, I did notice something about my copy. I don't know where the hell my dad got this from because we didn't have a Blockbuster here growing up. So if you'll notice, it has like a little Blockbuster sticker on it. If you all know anything about this, please let me know. Lunar Superstar story complete. And yes, I say lunar, not lunar. That's just how I say it. It's my accent. Why is this one number 2? This one made a really big impression on me whenever I played it last year for the very first time. From the OST to the storyline, the humor in this game is unimaginably amazing. I didn't think it was going to be that funny, but it is, especially the banter between Kyle and Null. I adore Null. He's probably my favorite character in the entirety of the game just because his sarcasm and his wittiness just makes me laugh. And look at this artwork. Look at how beautiful these are. Working Designs did such an amazing job with this. And now, yes, I know that this originally came out on Sega CD, but this is how I played it. And honestly, if I ever get the chance to play the Sega CD port, I will definitely do it. But first, I gotta get a Sega CD-X. I still haven't found one yet. But check this out. Look at how beautiful that looks. Now, this is not complete yet. It is missing the map. But the map is coming soon, and then it will be complete. And my favorite PlayStation 1 game of all time, which is no surprise to anybody, The Legend of Dragoon. Why is this game my favorite? Why does it trump every other game on the system? Well, I've never found anything that has topped it. Yes, I know that Chrono Trigger has a port on PlayStation 1, but Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time, and it still stands as that, but that's the Super Nintendo version. And that's what it originally came out for. And again, I don't think it would be fair to place that as my number 1 for PlayStation as well, since it actually originally came out on Super Nintendo, and that's what I originally played it on, and that's what I love it on the most. While I do appreciate the PS1 port of Chrono Trigger, and I love the added cutscenes and things like that, this is still going to be my number 1 game for PlayStation. Now, why is it my number 1 game, you ask? Well, the characters, the story, yes, it does take a moment to get into the story for Legend of Dragoon. Yes, it can be a little bit grindy at times, but that's stuff I can overlook. There's things about this game that honestly do get on my nerves, like I mentioned the grindiness can, but that's RPGs for you. They're grindy, that's just part of their charm. Now, the one thing that I, have trouble overlooking is the damn item menu, because you have so little space to put shit in, but yet you have like 255 slots for your fucking weapons and shit. I never understood that, but yet again, that's part of its charm. It makes it a little bit more difficult, but it's well worth immersing yourself into this game. I've always recommended it to anybody whenever they ask, what PlayStation 1 game should I check out? This is always the one I'll go to whenever I recommend something for PlayStation 1. The one thing that I can't talk today. The one thing that throws people off is the addition system. Don't let that discourage you. Do you know how long it took me to actually get that down pat for every single character? It took me a while just to actually be able to perfect those, which I am the master now. But when I first played the game, I sucked balls at it. I couldn't hardly hit shit. I finished the game with just doing the basic additions and not doing like this with like Albert or Lavis, which are annoying as hell to still do. The Blossom Storm, but I can still do them all now. And there are things that you can get in the game to help you with the additions, but I'm not gonna cheat like that. I just made it through the game doing the basic ones, and then I finally practiced enough to where I can actually do them with perfection. But about my list, this is subject to change because there's still a lot of PlayStation 1 games that I haven't touched base with, I haven't gotten to immerse myself in because there's such a damn big ass library for PlayStation 1. There's 1,284 games, give or take, on the system. And I still have a long way to go as far as like games to play and to check out. So again, I may be adding some new games at some point to this list, but until then, I hope you enjoy seeing my list of my top 10 games of all time. This is the PlayStation Girl signing out. Game on!